Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer, and today we're going to be playing Total War Attila. This is part 5 of my Let's Play series. In the last part, you saw us lose a devastating battle at the hands of the Sassanids, if that's how you pronounce them, the Eastern Empire, the Persians, the successor states to them, and they destroyed 2/7 of our entire army. 2/7, 2 of our 7 legions were wiped out by them. In this video, we are going to be facing Alaric of the Visigoths. We are moving all the way west to our western borders. The Visigoths and 2 full stacks of their armies have been ravaging Greece and Thessalonia and Thrace and whatever else in those regions since the start of the game. 4? This is the 5th turn, I think it is. We're into 396 AD, so the 2nd year of the game. They've been ravaging our western provinces in Greece, but we've finally been able to establish or put together an army large enough to greet them under Vindonius, the 11th Legion, as well as the 4th Legion with some 900 troops as some reinforcements, and a garrison army from Trimnotonium, or however you pronounce that. So we finally arrayed a force against the Visigoths capable of dealing with them. Now you can notice the Visigoths have lost some casualties. They're not at 100% strength. A lot of that has to do with the battles I fought, I think in the 2nd video of the series, where we commanded the garrison defense of some of the cities that the Visigoths would raid. And so we're meeting them on the field of battle in a situation where we are not, we should win this battle. Hopefully. This should be the first battle you see me actually play out and win. We did win a pretty big victory against the Japhides under Vindonius as well, so the general who's commanding our army has won his 2 only battles that he fought against the, whatever those tribes, I think they were called the Japhides, a small barbarian tribe which crossed into our borders. Last turn we crushed them, and we essentially forced a peace treaty with them. So that's good. Now, meanwhile, Vindonius is taking his triumphant army against one barbarian force to take on another barbarian force. Now, this is an interesting looking map here. You can see there's kind of a forest on a ridge right in the middle of the battle, kind of splitting up the battlefield naturally into 2 kind of clear openings, but perhaps making it more difficult to advance on the enemy because our line of sight's going to be cut between essentially two areas where we should have good line of sight, and then a middle area where we'll see very little of anything. Now, we do fairly heavily outnumber the enemy, especially when our reinforcements come up, so there's at least that positive aspect. One thing I do wonder about the game, though, is do reinforcements always show up? Because in all of the battles I've fought, every single time it says there's reinforcements, they show up. And not only do they show up, but they literally show up within the first 30 to 45 seconds of the battle. That's a little bit odd. You know, reinforcements should have the possibility of not showing up. Not a high percentage of the time, but at least sometimes. And again, maybe the game does have that element built into it. Maybe that's based on how far away they are. Usually when I've fought my battles, I get the reinforcements literally just outside of the engagement range, so that way, you know, they're as close as they can be. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe if they're further away, they won't come so quick. I'm not really sure. But as you see here, we're deploying our army here on the left side of the battlefield. Again, as I said, the battlefield is split by a forest and a ridge down the middle, and we're deploying our army here on the leftern? Wow, that's not a word. Well, it is, I'm recording it right now at it's at midnight, so I guess this is kind of early for me. I shouldn't be tired or anything. Normally I'm recording much later. But I'm deploying my army here down on the left side of the map, and I will deploy 1 cavalry unit to the right side of the map so I can kind of scout and find the enemy. I don't want to split my forces because while I do outnumber the enemy, it's not by so much that we might run into problems. You know, if they pick off half our army, we could be in some serious trouble. So I'd rather keep the whole force consolidated with the exception of some cavalry that I can use as kind of scouts. And then once I find the enemy, even if it takes a little bit longer to get there, at the very least, you know, I'll have my entire force and they'll be unlikely to beat me. And now you can see there we just received some reinforcements that looks like nope, more than that. Well, anyway, something like maybe 6 or 7 units coming onto the field of battle. You can see the units there on the far lower right of the screen. The ones that have lost some damage are the garrison of Trimdemtonium, and again, I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation, but those are the guys who we fought one of our earlier garrison actions with and bloodied Alaric, so they're kind of coming in for some revenge, but they also haven't fully replaced their losses yet since that defeat. Meanwhile, the other full-strength units, the kind of the spearmen and that other general, are from the 4th Legion, I believe it was. We'll deploy them to the right side of the map, so we'll kind of... I'm wondering if maybe we can try and recreate a Battle of Cannae and move half our army down each kind of valley or each kind of straight shot. Not that that had anything to do with Cannae, but where I'm going with the Cannae reference is kind of a double envelopment. If the enemy is doing what I think they're doing, and my guess, my hunch, is that the AI will probably deploy in the trees because that's a more natural, good defensive ground. And if that's the case, if we advance troops down each of the kind of clear open areas and we don't see them, then we can swing in on the trees and crush each of their flanks and smash and destroy the enemy between us. So anyway, that's the hope. I guess we'll see how it actually plays out. Now let me know in the comments and the description or whatever, the comments, or tweet me or email me or whatever. You can follow me on Twitter at HistoricalGamer. But let me know how the quality of this video looks. It looks okay to me, but I'm actually playing this game on a Mac. My wife has a MacBook Pro, so it's not, I don't think it has a high-end graphics card. I'm pretty sure it's integrated. It is an i5, but it's not a MacBook Air, but it's not like a super high-end Mac. I'm not actually playing this directly on the Mac, though. The reason I'm bringing this up is I am using the streaming feature of Steam. So I actually was going to play this in my den, where I've got my computer set up and my 2 monitors and all of that. But I decided I would try this out because we had actually been playing, or trying to, I guess we bought Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We were going to play in the living room, and that's kind of when I realized, oh yeah, Steam has this streaming feature, so I could have it on my computer in the den and hook up her Mac to the TV, and then we could play it out there, kind of like a console game. As it turns out, I haven't quite fixed the issues with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire yet. But anyway, that aside, that made me think, well, I can just I can record these games from wherever. But again, I don't know if the in-home streaming causes a graphics drop or, a drop in quality of the video. So if it does, let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know if this looks okay. I'm only playing on medium graphics. I've got a decent rig. I don't have a super high-end rig or anything like that. I'm running an i5 2400, which is a Sandy Bridge chip. Yes, I know. That's, 2 generations old, 3.2 gigahertz. I want to say it's quad-core, but the way Intel worked back then was they were really always, 2 cores somehow split up to act like 4. They weren't actually 4 real cores. Anyway, so i5 2400 Sandy Bridge, 2 generations old, 3.2 gigahertz, not overclocking or anything. And then a GTX 760 is my graphics card. So again, pretty medium road graphics card with 16 gigabytes of RAM. So, it's not going to be ultra graphics. Supposedly this game's ultra graphics are too taxing for even the highest end cards today. But the reason I'm rambling about this is let me know what you think it looks like, because again, I'm streaming the game over Wi-Fi through the Mac. It's recording on the desktop, but it could be a little bit laggy. It could be maybe lower quality when you stream. I'm not quite sure. So I'd be interested in knowing. And yeah, now that I've talked about that for 5 minutes and probably bored you out of your mind, you can see here I'm advancing down the left side of the map. The right side of the map, my reinforcements are still forming up, but I've got my cavalry kind of going down the valley here. I think this was a good tactic because now I've got a pretty good grasp of where the enemy is. They've got some archers and horsemen, but they're all in the woods, just as I said they'd be, or just as I thought they'd be. Now, one thing that is going a little bit poorly for me is the enemy is hitting my my horsemen here. I've lost some pretty considerable casualties there, hitting them with onager or catapults from range. So losing some casualties there, trying to open up the spacing of the horses a bit, maybe to limit their casualties, although they've already almost lost about 50% of their force. Still, the battle is dramatically in our favor. And the enemy horse charging us will kind of pull back a bit, maybe turn around on them once they're pulled further away. I'm running away mainly because, one, I don't know, but maybe it lessens the effect of their charge. I could be wrong there. But the other aspect is if I pull them away from their other troops, it's unlikely enemy infantry are going to be able to keep up with charging cavalry, so the engagement gets pulled further and further away from their main body. Their archers aren't able to easily move forward and support them, and their infantry also isn't. So it should just be a cavalry-on-cavalry engagement, in which case we should have the advantage. Meanwhile, you can see the onagers have shifted from hitting our cavalry to now attacking an infantry unit of ours, dealing some pretty heavy casualties. Maybe I should care about that. I don't. I'm losing badly. You can see there we routed the enemy horsemen and are kind of mopping them up. There's only, one guy left, so we'll probably wipe that whole unit out as the battle's opening salvos occur. So one enemy unit destroyed, and our own units losing heavily. You can see that one spearman unit there on the bottom left has lost almost 50% of its forces to the enemy onagers, but on the plus side, they're almost out of ammunition, so the fire and brimstone that those units may bring should be limited to just those couple of cavalry units and that one infantry unit, while the rest of the force remains almost perfectly intact. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay sacrificing one infantry unit and losing a little bit of effectiveness out of two cavalry units and destroying an enemy cavalry unit as well in the process. If it means, depriving my enemy of their most effective and powerful unit there. Wow. I don't know if the enemy hit me with archers or is that more onager stuff, but we lost another 60 men and another spear unit there. Either way, it looks like they're probably out of ammo or just about so. So I was hoping the enemy general would move further out toward my horsemen there. My infantry coming forward probably discouraged that. But yeah, so I was hoping maybe to catch Alaric off guard and cut him down kind of in the open. As it is, we will not do that. So Alaric of the Visigoths is leading this army, which you can see here. We've got a very healthy margin up at the very top of the screen, much more powerful than them. So my hunch is that this should turn into a pretty easy battle, although I am taking my time. I'm moving slowly. I'm not in a rush, so if that bores you, I'm sorry, but my tactics, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know I'm not the most aggressive player in any war games. I play fairly cautious, fairly close to the vest, and I don't race out there and play ultra aggressive. So if that's not the play style you enjoy watching, well, I'll save you 26 minutes and you can stop now. If it is something that you still enjoy watching or enjoy listening to me, then continue listening, and I definitely appreciate that. But you can see here we're slowly moving forward. I may be getting a little impatient. I'm going to kind of shift these spearmen into the woods rather than try the double envelopment. That seems maybe a little unnecessary. I kind of had this vision of, well, maybe I'll just wipe out the whole army and kill him to the last man, but I'm too lazy for that. So we're going to skip that, and we'll just kind of come down a little bit on their flank, moving through the woods, and move our other unit down the other flank, so if they do withdraw, they'll run into that. Yeah, we'll see where we go from here. Just a little bit of an aside, apparently this is actually not something that I knew or had really looked too closely at, but apparently if you look at the Roman spearmen, what are they called, the Liminati, however you pronounce that, if you look at them closely, you'll actually see they have long beards and kind of are obviously not Italian. They aren't clean cut, they aren't the sort of stereotypical Roman. Apparently that's because, in this age, and I've mentioned it in previous videos, but by this point in time, a large percentage of the Roman army was indeed not Roman, but rather various barbarians serving under Roman generals. Now, I hadn't seen that really represented all that much in the game, interestingly enough, and I don't believe that's the case for the cohors, which I believe are mostly kind of, they look Italian, but apparently the spearmen are supposed to be like the Feudati or whatever, which are barbarian tribes which are in the service of Rome in this age. So it's a nice bit of flavor, if you will, that is introduced into the game, if that's indeed true. Now, I'd zoom in and take a look, but actually at the moment I'm jumping in here, the recording was already done. I'm just kind of jumping in with an audio dub to kind of point that out. If I didn't mention, the individual I was talking to here who said that is named, or his YouTube channel is called Agrippa Maxentius. He does a lot of strategy and war games as well. But yeah, anyway, I thought that was interesting and kind of a cool little immersive feature, if you will. As we've found the Alaric's forces apparently abandoning any sense of good military discipline. It looks more like the enemy is just a mob of troops rather than any kind of army. So chalk one up to the AI for the Total War series. But here we are, we've got a little bit of a fight going on. With the spearmen there, we've got some horsemen trying to slow us down, but apparently Alaric thought it was a good idea to just mass his men in the middle of, on the top of a hill in the middle of a forest with no lines or anything. They're just a big mass of troops. So that looks a little bit silly.
Our men have given up and are running for their lives.
I actually liked Agrippa's description of the Roman Empire during the time of Attila is that, if you're looking at the Roman Empire at its height, maybe under Marcus Aurelius, or maybe even a little bit before that, but during the reign of the 5 great emperors, kind of the early to late 2nd century, the Roman Empire would be the equivalent of kind of like a really dark, fine, high-quality glass of red wine. And the Roman Empire in the age of Attila, the quality of its armies and its soldiers and whatnot, would essentially be a very pinkish kind of a red wine, but it's very pink. It's got yeast in the wine resting on top, almost like a beer. And the salesman's still trying to tell you, no, really, it's great red wine. You should try this. So, I don't know. I found that amusing. This idea of just kind of comparing Rome at its height to Rome right now, where it's just struggling and doing everything in its power to just kind of hold things together. And it's interesting because, if a couple of really great leaders didn't come along at certain times for Rome, it's certainly possible the empire could have fallen much sooner. The father to Arcadius and Honorius, Theodosius I, he was a brilliant general, a brilliant tactician, a brilliant politician. The fact that he was able to maintain that empire, to take control of the entire thing by himself, and to somehow keep various barbarian tribes all loyal to him, all loyal to Rome during his reign, was a fantastic accomplishment. Something that I don't think there was another Roman emperor after him who would do that. Maybe the next closest who was able to bring in different tribes who may have hated Rome, may have despised Rome, but was able to bring them in and through various reasons get them to fight for him, might have been, and again, I'm not an expert in this time, but Flavius Aetius might have been another one who was able to do that. He wasn't an emperor, he was just a general, but he was able to bring the Visigoths and I think the Franks as well, and several other barbarian tribes to the side of Rome to fight the Huns in the mid-5th century. So Rome had several remarkable leaders. Theodosius might have been the last great emperor, certainly the last emperor of both empires, but the last great emperor during this kind of time period. And then, you don't really have a whole bunch of great ones until quite a ways way into the Eastern Empire after probably the fall of the West. You can see here the enemy is fighting without any semblance of any real combat order. Just kind of slowly being pressed in on all sides. Lots of archers and ranged units dropping havoc on our forces. Trying to keep most of my troops at a reasonable level of strength, because if your troops fall too low, they are eliminated. Whereas if they lose maybe half their force instead, you can still reform them and get reinforcements and what have you. So enemy has a lot of range units sitting back, kind of dropping archers into my massed formations there. It's just a cluster of men all packed shoulder to shoulder and in a meat grinder of death. No tactics, no anything, just no holds bar, slash, murder, warfare, I don't know, whatever you want to call this. It's a meat grinder. It's not, these aren't tactics, it's a meat grinder, like I said. So you can see that casualties and fighting power is definitely tilted in our side despite the constant rain of arrows down on our men. At the very top there you can see the line is almost all the way to the right. That yellow line almost always all the way to the right. That little sliver of red represents what is left of the combat power of Alaric, the Visigoth. So basically nothing. I've already talked a little bit about Alaric. I may talk more about the Visigoths later. I mentioned, I guess in my previous videos I said I'd talk more about them, but in retrospect I kind of said all there was to really say about the Visigoths at the time. You know, under Theodosius they were fighting for the Romans. When Theodosius died within a year they were rebelling against the Romans, and Alaric marched on Rome, sacked large parts of Italy and Greece, and didn't die till 410 AD. Interestingly enough, a very young Flavius Aetius, the commander who would end up opposing the Huns and Attila for the Romans, actually spent a good deal or a couple of years of his childhood serving in the court of Alaric as kind of a political hostage. I guess it was common in this time to send members of your diplomatic staff and your rising elite to be kind of hostages of other tribes and other kingdoms as a way to ensure as a way that you would ensure your loyalty to them, and that, obviously if the Romans turned on the Goths, then the Goths could kill people the Romans wouldn't want to because they're right there in their tribe, and apparently vice versa. So it was interesting. Flavius Aetius spent quite a bit of time under Alaric, and then he ended up spending time under the Huns as well, but that's probably a discussion for another video here. You can see here we've won a decisive victory, unlocking the achievement of Raw Recruit, which basically means you've won a battle on the battlefield. Good job. So there you have it. We lost, about 864 men. The enemy lost over 1,000. And you can see most of Alaric's forces are wiped out. It looks like a few archers did manage to survive, maybe some slingers as well. Alaric himself perished. So we no longer have to worry about him ruling the Visigoths. And I guess what we'll do, again, just in the interest of keeping the Visigoths from hating us too much and from hurting our integrity by ransoming the enemy, is we'll go ahead and take on the captives and have them join our army, because that seems pretty realistic. The Romans would beat barbarian tribes and then expect their loyalty, so that's what we'll do here. And you can see that what's left of the army of the giants is really just some ranged units. They've been driven down the path toward Thessalonia. You can see the war-hungry tribe of the Visigoths out to the west under Attila is still strong and still a serious threat. But first things first, the giants still pose a bit of a threat to us. So we're going to take Vindonius, who I want to say he's 2-0 now. He's won 3 battles. And been successful in all of them. Maybe 2 or 3. Either way, he's won 2 battles. He's up to a rank 2, so his influence is growing, his power is growing. And we'll just auto-resolve this battle against the Visigoths because we outnumber too heavily and fight an aggressive battle against them. You can see there we just wiped out what was left of Alaric's victory, killing over 450 men and losing just 21 of ourselves, taking on some 100 captives who will also have joined our forces. So you can see there another victory for Vindonius. General of the Eastern Empire is now up to a 3-star general rank, which is excellent. We are finally having a war hero, and it seems anyway that the Balkans may be stabilizing. Now, one other thing that I'm going to try and do, first of all, I'm going to move Vindonius here down into Thessalonia, so if the war-hungry decide to try and sack Thessalonia, which is one of our very rich cities. Is that Greece? I mean, not Greece. It's obviously in Greece. I was trying to see what city that is. But if they try and move there, which is one of our richer cities in the south, they'll have to deal with an army more powerful than them, as our reinforcements can make it in there as well. And I'm not sure. With the Alans, you can see there on the northeast or upper right corner of the map there, the Alans have sent a tribe across the Danube as well and are marching south toward Constantinople. So I'm thinking it might not be a bad idea, especially given our setbacks in the east, of maybe trying to make peace with the Goths. And if we can do that, it might not be a bad idea, like I said, to try and make peace with the Goths, if only to stabilize our situation. You know, as I said, as the Roman Empire in this age, you really can't afford to be fighting a two-front war all the time. I'd like to promote Vindonius. You can see his loyalty might have fallen from 7 to 6, so that's a little bit concerning. But his influence has gone up. He's a little bit older. His generalship has gone up, and he's kind of a hero of the empire right now. So it makes me a little bit nervous, again, to have someone who's gonna probably become incredibly popular and powerful. But as long as it's on our side, I guess that's all right. Continuing to move down the chain of skills, we'll focus on his ability to lead troops in the field of battle. Meanwhile, it does look like his authority is kind of neutral, his cunning is neutral, or slightly plus. His zeal is neutral. So he's, all things considered, pretty mediocre general, although the 3 stars is pretty high quality there. Yeah, he's, what is he, 46 now? 39, 46, somewhere in there. Anyway, so we'll go to diplomacy here. The Visigoths, it looks like that's their last tribe, so we could probably wipe them out. But I don't know if that would really benefit us, and our relationship is deteriorating. But they're happy about our war with the Huns and the fact that we abandoned the Western Empire. I'm thinking we might try and make peace with them, because we are so much more powerful than them. If we can make peace with them and get them out of our province, that is still a strong enough army that it should provide perhaps an obstacle to others. And at the very least, simply, I can't afford to fight another enemy. If we can make peace with them, you know, that's still a stack we got to deal with. It's still a pretty strong enemy army that we've got to deal with and commit an entire full stack of ours against. And if we've got a stack of troops against the Visigoths, it means we can't have a stack of troops against the Alans. We don't have enough manpower, we don't have enough equipment, we don't have enough money to fight them as well. So again, the victory appears all right. Yeah, that victory did allow us to make a peace treaty with the Visigoths, so hopefully they withdraw from our territory now. And now we can shift the army that we had to station in Thessalonica to try and deal with both the Visigoths and the Alans. We can shift them to the east to deal with Thrace. I don't know if that's really a marginal benefit type thing, marginal cost maybe. You know, you can only deal, you've got a set number of troops and resources. You've got 2 problems to deal with. How do you decide, you know, which to deal with first? I'm not sure if that really qualifies. But either way, you know, you can only deal with what you've got ahead of you, and now we don't have to worry about the Visigoths. Hopefully, you know, I wouldn't put it past the AI to turn on us next turn and immediately go to war. But as it stands right now, it's a good result. And you can see here we've still got some unassigned skills. So let's go back into Vindonius. I didn't even realize we've got another skill we can assign. I think we'll assign it to the cavalry commander. So he's got 2 skills assigned to that. You know, the ability to assign skills still seems a little bit gamey and annoying to me. The ability to assign traditions to armies, also a little bit gamey and annoying. I really wish you could just have those features be given to the armies based on their performance and go from there, rather than saying, you get to pick exactly what people are going to do and how they're going to develop. I mean, there are traits that you don't control. I've seen those come up, but I just wish there was less customizability. I really think that this is something that would make the game play more realistically. But anyway, so we're going to kind of focus on the Legion's integrity, and basically it improves their loyalty, or they're less likely to revolt against us, which is good, especially in armies that will probably be largely I know we're not Italian, we're the Eastern Empire, probably largely non-Greek as well, fighting for the cause of justice, fraternity, liberty, whatever, the Eastern Empire, huzzah. So now we've made peace with the Visigoths. We'll go ahead and end the turn here. You can see the Alans continue to move south. They're now attacking, what is this city? Marcinopolis, which was sacked by the Japads or some other tribe, which we then defeated and forced into a peace treaty. So don't live in this city here, because it's been sacked twice in less than a year by 2 different barbarian hordes. We did inflict 52 casualties on the enemy. They inflicted 395 on us, and they're moving south toward Constantinople. I doubt they have the manpower to take the city, but it is something we've got to take serious. Meanwhile, the Visigoths are moving north. It would appear away from our borders, which is good. And the Sassanidans, or whatever they're called, continue to threaten our eastern provinces. They've got armies kind of all over the place. We lost 2 of our legions here. Was it last turn or 2 turns ago, or last video or 2 videos ago? The Sassanidans or the Persians or whatever you want to call them defeated a combined force of 2 of our legions just to the west of Nisbis, and as a result, our defensive firepower here in the east is greatly diminished, and our wealthy Anatolian, Syrian, and Israeli or Palestinian provinces are heavily exposed. Oh, nuclear war in the desert. Okay. So apparently some other city has been wiped out by the Mazuni, or whatever they're called. That looks like it's in North Africa. Maybe they just wiped out. No, they're red, so we're at war with them. I don't know who they wiped out, but they wiped out someone. And who are these guys? Another tributary or another satellite state of the Parthians or the Sassanidans or whatever empire are attacking Media. We don't have any real forces here, so they easily defeat us there. Interestingly enough, the enemy has not chosen, and actually, you can see here, they still have not chosen to occupy a single city of ours. So they've defeated us in the east. I thought in the west it was mainly because they were barbarian hordes which lack a home and they didn't want to settle down yet, but it appears in the east as well. The AI may not always choose to attack your city. Or not attack, but take your city. So that's interesting. Yeah, so we're gonna move Vendonius east now. We can get in front of the Alahans in near Constantinople. I doubt we'll have the range to engage them, but at the very least we'll intercede and step between them and Constantinople, and therefore save that city from any serious enemy threat as we kind of move our troops back toward Constantinopolis. And I think we'll move this other unit as well, because it does seem like the Visigoths are going to keep well on their word and not go right back to war with us. They're moving north toward the border, so we'll trust them for now. Meanwhile, these are our only real forces here in the west. It does look like there are a few other enemy troops. So are these inside our borders? Yeah. Arrows of Death under our Shaka. Those are the Visigoths, and then we've got the Visigoths as well, who we've already mentioned are moving away from our borders, so we can kind of let them do that and go from there. Meanwhile, the Blood Ember, I don't know if it's a tribe or army or whatnot, why an army would have its own name, but unlikely they're going to be strong enough to attack us in Constantinople. We've got an army that's more powerful than theirs out front of Constantinople, and then we've also got a large Constantinople garrison, as well as the 4th Legion, which we've moved into Constantinople. So right now, Constantinople is safe. The Western Empire is a little bit more stable, with fewer enemies raiding about the Balkans, although certainly not stable as a whole. And in the east, we've Media was sacked. We've got an army in Edessa, and no ability to do anything versus the enemy. They're just too powerful. Yeah, so that's where we are. It's summer of 396 AD. That means we're 6 turns in, 7 turns in, 5 turns in, somewhere between 5 to 7 turns into the game, and no mercenaries to raise here. And as you know, at the stage we're in, we've stopped the Visigoths, at least for now, stopped another small barbarian tribe, which I can't remember the name of, and are ready to stop the Alans as well. Hopefully we can make peace with them. We are at war with way too many countries, way too more than I can even name, because there's like 20 of them all at once, and we need to try and make peace. The big deal would be making peace with the Sassanidans, because they control like 4 or 5 kind of client states that we're all at war with. One of the tribes that just took Media isn't their direct province, but they're they're allies of them, so they're at war with us. But again, if we can just somehow force a peace treaty on them, that would be what we want. However, that's probably a topic for another video, and I'm going to end this one. I appreciate you tuning in, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.